We don't have any updates, and we're working on grants and projects through the SWCD. So hopefully we're going to have some grant. Okay, thank you. Hi, Abby.
How are you doing? Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 KLA Annual Meeting. We are so glad you could make it, especially with the rain. Usually I start out with a little gimmick of getting through this really fast, even though we're all we really love to talk about this. But I can't imagine any of you are too excited to get right back into that rain. Still, we'll try to get you out on time and really hope, let's all cross our fingers, that this rain ends and that we can get back to a beautiful Saturday after this. A couple of call-outs before we start. We are trying to live stream this annual meeting so that people can watch it back later. That being said, if you have a question at any point through the meeting, we will be answering questions at the end. If you are worried that you aren't able to remember that entire time, there are index cards and pens scattered across the table, and then we will let you know when we're ready for questions. If you can't remember certain parts of the presentation, please go back to the annual meeting recording. And also, you can email our directors at any time. If you're not sure where to find our emails or where to find certain information or even where this live stream is kept, please find one of us in the Koronis Association shirts. Don't they look so good? And we will let you know where to go. Speaking of our shirts, I don't know if many of you guys are on Facebook or Instagram, but we do have a new Redbubble shop. One of the things that we were asked about last meeting was if we were ever going to have any Koronis Association merchandise. Now we do. We have a couple of the designs here. Hudson's wearing one, and I'm wearing one, and then there are a couple of others, including some hats, some phone cases, I think, too, drawstring bags, so a bunch of different stuff. All of the profits from that store go directly to funding different projects and initiatives. Just goes straight back. Speaking of different events that we have today, again, if you guys aren't on Facebook or Instagram, we do have an ice cream social, and we're really hoping the rain goes away. So again, please cross your fingers. We are hosting with the Koronis Cafe from 5 to 7. It's one free ice cream treat per person or until supplies run out until the end. If you feel like you weren't able to ask your questions here, if you want to have another conversation with the director, a couple of directors will be stationed there as well to help answer any of those questions. Now let's get into why we do what we do.
I don't think you said the times today, or you didn't say it's a band.
Oh yes, sorry. It's at Veterans Park, Vans Beach. All of the information is on our website, Facebook, Instagram, and if you are unsure about where it is, again, any of us would be happy to help fill in that information. So all of our projects and initiatives go directly to promoting the protection and improvement of Lake Koronis. You won't find a single project that is not supporting this goal in some way. There are definitely smaller projects that impact local businesses, local shoreowners, and then there are widespread projects like our Aquatic Invasive Species program that not only impacts the lake here, but also all the surrounding lakes and lakes across the state who want to use from our knowledge and our information to help improve their lake systems. We cannot possibly, oh, I forgot that the director's slide isn't after this. Hang on. I'll talk to you about them in a second. Here's our agenda. We're going to start with the introduction to the board. We'll get swiftly into secretary and treasurer reports. Then we'll get into the watershed update. I think our watershed guy is sick at home with his kid, but there is just a couple sentences there. We'll have some committee updates, charitable fundraising, lake quality, aquatic invasive species, a fan favorite, and then some membership with a guest speaker from the Paynesville Area Community Foundation. Then at the very end, we have some director updates. We have 3 seats open, and there are 2 people who would like to be on the board, but if you're just really, really excited to volunteer, just think on that for a little bit. And then we'll get to the Q&A. Of course, we could not do any of this without our fantastic board. You know me, I've been speaking for a couple of minutes. My name is Esri Farnham, and I'm the president. I do a lot of the administrative and education initiatives here at Lake Koronis. With Kevin, we do a lot of the AIS, a lot of the Waterfest, and we hear a little bit more about those events later. Ken Hess is our fantastic water quality manager. He does a lot of the water quality initiatives, and chances are, if you have a problem with your shore, you've probably heard from him in some shape or form. Kevin, that infamous face of his, we've got the AIS manager. He does so much to help the community about aquatic invasive species, as well as directly here on Koronis Lake. Ray Lanning is our charitable fundraising manager. Andy Winthrop is kind of our social manager. He does a lot of the membership data, and he does a lot of our community involvement events. Joe Clocker is our brand new vice president. We're so happy to have him. He helps me out with almost anything I need, and he's also been an advocate. If you've been at any of the township or city meetings, you might have seen him there trying to make sure that the shoreowners of Koronis Lake is adequately represented. Dan Ziegler is a pillar of support in our community and in our association. I don't think I could get through a day without Dan. He makes everything feel better. Riley Flanders has been doing our newsletter for 6 fantastic years, and he has grown it to be what it is today. And on his team, Amy Erdman, she was new to the board last year, and she's been continuing to help with our newsletter team, as well as Hudson Gray, another new director who has been listening to Riley and kind of being his protege over the past couple of months. Then, of course, we have Shanna Clocker, our secretary, who helps us with anything and everything, a jack of all trades, and all of these people are fantastic assets for the Lake Association, and I'm so excited that you get to hear from some of them today. Now, as we get into the reports, do we have anyone who hasn't been to a meeting before by raise of hands? Perfect. So here's how it goes. There will be several points throughout the meeting where I'm going to ask for a motion. This can be done through a variety of ways, but for here, in this large space, I'm going to ask for a motion. If anyone could raise their hand and go first, then say your name so that we can get it on the annual meeting minutes. Then we will need a second. So we'll need someone to raise their hand, go second, and also say their name. After that, I'm going to call for all in favor. If you're in favor, that's when you go. And if I'm going to say all opposed, and if you're opposed, that's where you go. I'm also going to say anyone who doesn't want to vote. If you want to abstain from the vote, that's when you go. Then I'll let you know if the motion's passed or if it's been denied. Now, without further ado, here is Shanna Clocker with the annual meeting secretary report.
Hello, thanks for coming today. This report reviews last year's annual meeting in the minutes. We'll just jump right in. train.
I forgot the trainer.
Last year we had a lot of sort of new initiatives, and we had some turnover. We had 4 new board members, so that will be in the minutes. We had some standard items where we approved the previous year's minutes, the treasury report. We launched a new website last year, and throughout this last probably 6 or 8 months, it's been improved. Bugs worked out, and a lot of work has been done on that, mostly by Esri. So that's been really nice. Hopefully that's been helpful in communicating things on the board and things that we're doing. And then we just went through, and this will kind of echo today's meeting also. We went through each committee, membership, water quality, AAS. So if you haven't had a chance to read through the fine print on these meeting minutes, they're online. So you can always look through those, but this, there's one more slide, I believe. This report just needs to be approved by you, so anyone can make a motion, and when you say, if you do make a motion, just say your name out loud because we're recording the meeting. So you can take a minute and review, but that's the secretary report from last year.
Perfect. Thank you, Shanna. All right. I know I said questions were at the end, but before we approve this, does anyone have any questions? Does anyone want to take a minute to look at these very tiny print or quick go online to the website? Okay. Then will someone make a motion to approve last year's annual meeting minutes?
So moved. Brian Beach.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Randy Schaefer.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Anyone wants to abstain? Fantastic. The motion passes. Now we'll get into the treasury report presented by Rachel.
All right, so really small numbers on the screen. So this year's overall balance sheet and just income, our ordinary income for the year, just from the direct public support came to $32,000 this last year.
You want me to try to make it bigger?
No.
It's just so small.
This is also available on
I'll read some numbers out. So the direct public support total came to $32,000. Of that, we have donations and grants for AIS to come right around $9,000. Fireworks donations from the community was $3,300, and then most of it is just business contributions came to $19,000. In addition to that, a big part that you start seeing in our income is now from the charitable fundraising, which I'll get to next. But the charitable fundraising contributed $40,000 to the KLA this last year. So you're starting to see some benefits of the charitable fundraising. In terms of, so overall income was at $72,865. When it comes to expenses, we have some basic contract services, accounting expenses, stuff like that, to the tune of like $2,500. And then just a lot of operational kind of expenses. And again, it's our annual meeting today, it's our advertising, just dues and insurances for all the equipment. And all of our expenses came down to $6,900. And then we have, let's see, what else is there? And then AIS inspection costs of roughly $10,000 as well. So we net it all out. The KLA Association is doing really well. Our net income for this last year was roughly $37,000. So the association itself running in the black, which is great, and then we can start figuring out what we want to do with that money in the future. It's a little bit better to see, but overall assets. So right now we have $283,000 or $297,000 in assets. So again, that is what we were sitting on. So, and we do have plans for the money. There's a lot of discussions going forward. Weed harvester comes up, just continued maintenance of the lake. So that's what that money is used for on a year-to-year basis. All right. So then you want to just go right into the next one?
Absolutely, go for it.
All right. So then we'll move on to the actual charitable fundraising detail. So this year, for our charitable fundraising, and for those of you that don't know that, we run the full tabs, the E-tabs over at Shady's 55 restaurant. So that is the single source of our charitable fundraising. This year, in addition to myself, we have Andy Wendroth and Joe Clocker have been helping me out. It's actually a fair amount of work. We'll be in there maintenance of the machines, counting the tickets and everything at least 3 times a week, sometimes more. So it's a fair amount of work, and Andy and Joe have definitely stepped up and helped us on this year with that one. The other thing we started doing is starting to cooperate with other organizations in the community. So this year we started horse racing at Shady's. And horse racing is a video pull tab game, is really what it amounts to. But we teamed up with the River Lakes Youth Hockey Association. So the Hockey Association helps us run that, and then we donate money to the Hockey Association to help them out as well. So trying to expand our just community outreach. And then we also ran our very first meat raffle. It was at Shady's 2nd anniversary, so they asked us to run a meat raffle. So that is the new thing we did this year. If you looked at the year in total, so the revenue, the very first full year we had last year, we had $159,000 of revenue. This last year was an incredibly busy and good year. We had $235,000 of revenue, of which most of that comes into our electronic pull tabs. It's the iPad machines that sit at Shady's 55. And so almost 180,000 of that came in through e-tabs. Our paper pull tabs was 52,000. So that's the 2 major pieces of the income. If you looked at the expenses, our expenses were 159,000. So it's a pretty good percentage of overall revenue goes to our expenses. You have your revenue sharing with the e-tab provider. You have just general taxes. We have to pay Shady's rent. So we give Shady's 15% of our income just as part of the agreement to have our operations there. We donated $5,400 to youth hockey, and then also between the 3 of us, there's a total of $10,000 this last year in compensation to the work we do, and then just $5,000 in gambling product. So overall, again, $159,000 expenses, which means our net is $76,000. Of that $76,000, we gave $40,000 to KLA. So our retained profits is $36,000. So now when you look at the gambling operations going forward, the gambling account now has a good base. We have roughly $50,000 in there as a base account. So I would expect now next year going forward, we'll probably maintain, unless something major happens, our retained profits will get closer to 0, and we'll start returning more and more of that to KLA or whatever other groups we decide. So if it were equivalent to last year, we'd be able to give close to $70,000 back to the association, which is a huge dollar amount. And let's see, and then this is something we have to do on a month-to-month basis. If you were to go out to the website, every month you'll see one of us post the actual expenses for the month, and then also the estimated expenses. Just to let everybody know, we've been audited by the state. Our gambling operations was audited by the state earlier this year, and this is brand new to us, and we actually came away incredibly clean on the audit. So we had a couple little missed signatures and everything else, but nothing major. But one thing that came out of it was we were not doing a very good job of publicizing our expenses and getting board approval or getting membership approval on our expenses on a month-to-month operation. So if you look at our June actuals, we had $19,000 of expenses in June, and I list them out on the website, but I mean, it's all of our game organizations that we have to pay, and our rent to Shady's, for example, is on there. So I list out the June, but then we also have July estimates. So none of these checks have gone out yet, so I'm going to need approval today. But if you look at the expenses here, we have total expenses coming in July of $23,897. And that number is a little bit larger because for the first time we have business-related taxes. So the money that we're making for KLA, it's unrelated to KLA's main operation, so we actually get taxed on that. So we have a $5,700 tax bill that we're also paying this month. So really, I need a motion to approve July's expenses to the tune of $23,897.
Kevin Farnham, I move we approve the July expenses for the charitable fundraising.
Is there a second?
Second, Andy Earthman.
Thank you. All for?
Aye.
All opposed? Would anyone like to abstain? Perfect.
All right, I think that's it for me, but a great year, so.
Thank you. So part of what I want to call out quick here, part of what those charitable funds have gone to is an intern for the watershed, that brilliant fireworks show that we all got to see last weekend, and then a couple other miscellaneous projects here and there. In the future, as we really settle into knowing how to do this, we will continue to tell you guys about what initiatives are going on and where the charitable fundraising is going. So expect further updates. And now we will be hearing a little bit about our water quality projects and initiatives that have been in part supported by charitable fundraising from Ken Hess.
Okay, thank you. Gotta get this up here now. We worked on two primary major projects this past year. One is the problem that both these problems are from way, way back. Just to clarify or make a point, some of the projects or some of the problems that are causing water quality in Lake Koronis to decrease, in order to resolve them, we need landowner approval. So we can do whatever we want to ask, request, entice, whatever, a landowner to go along with what is needed. If they say no, it's nothing we can do about it. So both of these projects are at least 10 to 15 years old. They were started a long time ago. They were dropped because landowners basically said, no way, we're going to do it. However, that said, we came back a couple years ago and tried a different approach and met with both landowners. And now we have approval, finally, after more than 15 years, to do some work right here on County Road 20 and Baywater Road coming up from the Rumble Bridge. South of that, there's a large area that the DNR put in, a large holding area many, many years ago, 20, 25 years ago, that would hold water back and kind of let everything settle down before it went on down to Lake Koronis. That holding pond blew out about 20 some years ago, and that's when KLA got involved in it. The landowner didn't have a good experience as a result of this, wanted nothing to do with it. I can't go on and get specific, but I can't mention names. Anyway, so what we did is about 5 years ago or more, I spoke with the landowner, and no was the deal. We went back about a year and a half later, finally got verbal approval, but we needed signatures. And at that time, the landowner says, nope, change my mind, not gonna do it. Now we got, a year ago, we finally have approval from the landowner to go ahead with the project. So, Stern Soil and Water has done the surveying, they've done all the preliminary work. We're waiting now for the engineer's final report and final specs. And then Stern Soil and Water has asked KLA if they would go out and get the bids submitted and so forth, which we'll do. And once the bids are submitted and approved, we'll go ahead and work on that project. That project will have a major impact, especially on the west end of the lake, where there's a delta that is formed out there with rushes this high. Someone's building a house there last fall. And they didn't even point the house towards the lake because of the rushes. They kind of tilted it so they could see the lake. So that delta is formed as a result of the runoff from land that goes back probably 3 or 4 miles in all. Judicial ditches, some fields and so forth that enter into this property on the south side of County Road 20. So hopefully we can get that taken care of and stop the delta from continuing to form. Once that's approved, we're hoping the DNR will, if the landowner wants us to, go in there and remove those rushes and give them their lake shore view back. So that's another case we'll have to worry about later on. Another project down, one at a time, right? 20 and 25, County Road 20 and 25. That project was already ready to submit bids probably 15 years ago, and the landowner decided, nope, not going to do it. Didn't like the specs. anyway, that kind of died on the vine, so about a year ago, went back and talked to the landowner again and basically said, what would you like to have done to your property? And we'll see if we can get the certain soil and water specs to kind of go in there and take care of that. Now we're at a point where he said, okay, I'll look at it again. So we're waiting for a meeting, three meetings, certain soil and water, landowner and myself. So we'll see what happens with that. A third area that has popped up in the last 6 months is Mud Lake. We've had some residents on Mud Lake who are having a difficult time getting their docks in and out and so forth because the muck has increased by a significant amount over the years. Years ago, Mud Lake was our settling pond between Rice and Koronis. A lot of phosphorus and nitrates would come in there and they would settle down there and then we get cleaner water going into Koronis. Mud Lake now is super saturated. It doesn't do any filtering for us anymore at all as a result of the muck basically filling up over the years. So once we get some more landowners on board with this, we'll check into it. We've done some preliminary work. We would have to do a soil bore to start with to find out where the real bottom of the lake is over there, the actual bottom. And then we'd find out how much muck is in there, a lot of phosphorus and nitrates and so forth. And then after we determine how much muck is in there, then we have to find out what the internal and external load is for that muck, the phosphorus and nitrates and so forth. So we have to find out how much is being generated from the bottom of the lake and then how much is actually coming in, and that will determine the next steps. If there are next steps to be taken, it would be very, very expensive. Shell Rock watershed down by Austin did this on a 500 and some acre piece of property. They needed $16 million to do it. Fortunately, we only have about 57 to 60 acres on Mud Lake that would need to be worked on. But again, we'll have to see what happens with that. Then something I want to mention too, Stearns County Lakeshore Restoration Fuel Trip that's coming up on the 23rd of this month. They're going to bring a bus out to Veterans Park, and anyone who wants to hop on board and look at some of the projects that they've completed, rain gardens, etc., around Koronis and Rice Lake, you're certainly welcome to join that tour. Costs $10. It starts at 3 p.m. and ends about 8, but toward the end there will be Subway sandwiches, another refreshment. Good opportunity to see what other people are doing around the lakes and have done in the past, in case you're interested in doing something like that. If you wind up needing a project done that's going into the lake that's causing harm to the lake, there are usually 75%, 25% grants available through the county. Well, Meeker, Candy, Ojai, and Stearns all have the same program. 75% would be covered by a grant, 25% by the landowner, and that's where KLA comes in and helps out as much as we can with the landowner. Those properties and the grant have to be approved by the county before we, as the KLA Association, can approve it. They can work on the other 25%. If we can't come up with a lot of 25%, we'll go out and try to find other sources of revenue to help complete those projects. What we'd like to do is not have any cost on the landowner, ideally, because they're helping us out to help keep the lake clean too. And sometimes it's not possible to help with everything, but we do whatever we can. Some of you have mentioned about the lake clearing up, and I just jotted down a couple of reasons why it is getting clearer. Some of them good, some not so good. KLA paid partial payment for 26 rock inlets up by Belgrade-Bruton area that had a lot of runoff from heavily fertilized fields. And the rock inlets were connected to field tiles, and the field tiles, full of nitrates and phosphorus and everything, would enter a tank, basically a holding area. The phosphorus and nitrates would settle down to the bottom of the tank, and then clean water would come out. So KLA pushed for that. We got the watershed district helped out with that immensely, and so that has helped quite a bit. We also had a river stabilization project that KLA was involved in west of the bridge up by AMC Farm Equipment. Kind of hard to describe, but there's a bend in the river that was really eroding the far end of the river bank, and that was taken care of, and you could see almost within a week or so the water was becoming clearer. We have some advanced farming practices that are starting to help us out. Many farmers, when they fertilize the field, they spread the fertilizer over everything, even in between the rows. Now some of the farmers have gotten to a point where they only fertilize right along the row of whatever the plant is they're putting in the ground. So they put the seed in for corn or soybeans or whatever, and so you get this much fertilizer instead of everything fertilized. So that's helping quite a bit. Another thing that's helped, but hurt in other ways, the price of fertilizer has really gone up the last couple of years, especially last year. So I know a number of farmers who have basically cut back on a lot of the amount of fertilizer they're putting on, and of course that helps us too. Of course, we also have the 50 and 66 foot buffer strip, or 50 and 16 foot buffer strips. Some people call it the Dayton buffer strip that went into effect a number of years ago. So along every river, there has to be a 50-foot buffer between where the farming land ends and the river. And with judicial ditches that feed into the river, a 16-foot buffer. So the buffer helps when rains like this settle some of the nutrients before it gets into the lake or the river judicial ditch or whatever it might be. During heavy downpours, it doesn't help that much. It just rushes right across and sends it in here. We also have rain gardens and other projects that different people have put in around this lake and also Rice Lake. And KLA has helped to fund some of the projects on Rice Lake, by the way. Rice Lake's water today is ours tomorrow. So if we can help out, Rice Lake doesn't have the financial resources that KLA has. And we thank you for your support for that, by the way. Then we have settling ponds west of Koronis. In the last 5 to 6 years, there have been 5 settling ponds put into place west of the Rumble Bridge. 3 of them maybe a quarter mile back and then up a hill to the left. They were put in by the DNR. We didn't have to pay anything for that. And then about a mile west of Koronis, there were 2 settling ponds we worked on for some time, trying to get someone to do something. Finally, Candy, Ohio, somehow or other got the DNR involved. The DNR paid for everything. So now we have settling ponds there. You can really tell the difference when you come down that road after the runoff has settled in those ponds, especially during heavier rainfall. You can see the ponds just spread out in width so that there's more room to settle. And then, of course, I couldn't not give credit to the zebra mussels. That's the last one on the list for a reason. Of course, that's going to help clean up the lake quite a bit. Each zebra mussel filters 1 liter of water per day. We have millions in the lake now. I guess have you counted lately, Kevin? Yeah. Kevin's doing a social count next week. So that said, all of the water that gets filtered, that's great. The problem is that it filters out plankton and a lot of the foods that fish eat. So I don't want to make a dire prediction, but in the long run, we may see a decrease in the number of fish being caught in Koronis because they won't have the amount of food that they need. And another thing too is Bob Rockler is here. Bob, how are you? He's the president of the North Fork Pearl River Watershed District. They are working on a grant called a 319 grant, $292,000 that will be used to implement and install bioreactors in primary erosion areas and up the river more on the other side of Belgrade and Bruton area, right, Bob? Those areas. Yep. And so they're working on that and taking the primary polluters, so to speak, ditches anyway, before they enter into the North Fork and the Pearl River. The bioreactors will be like huge rock inlets that settle the water, treat the water before it gets sent on. So we should see a marked improvement as a result of those inlets and also, yeah, Bob.
At our last meeting, we hired Houston Engineering for $8,000 to study a retention pond that'd be 15 to 30 acres. So and the landowner is tentatively on board with it, and the DNR gave us the okay, so hopefully we can get that pulled off.
Super.
It's on JD1.
Yep, great, thank you very much for that. Yeah, the watershed district's been great in working with over the years. The grant they have requires other certain amounts to be matched. So KLA is going to help out with some of the other funds that go into helping them meet the requirements of that grant. So things are looking up. I think we're heading in the right direction. The water will be clearer. The fish well you can now. I'm sorry, I'm probably overdoing that, but that's the negative part. Another negative part is the zebra mussels. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That's huge.
Oh, this is good.
An aquatic invasive species with Kevin Farnham.
Do I need the mic?
Yeah.
I don't know if I need the mic. I usually project pretty well, but I better use it. Does it make any difference at all for your recording? Oh, it's for the recording. Oh, it's not for you guys. Oh, all right.
Sometimes I fear Kevin doesn't listen to me.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Thanks. All right. Well, so how is KLA managing AIS? Well, we do still have the boat inspection program, which you're familiar with probably as locals. You're familiar with that probably once a year, maybe or twice a year, in and out, maybe. It depends on what time you hit the launch. We have a new cleaning station that is now, it's not ours. It was donated. We were involved, but it was donated to DNR. Like, it's hard to get DNR to do things, and it's hard to get DNR to get things free. So it was like difficult to give it to them from something that came from an organization called Minnesota Lakes and Rivers Advocates, which many of you belong to. Jeff Forrester, the executive director, has been here to talk to us. We still are doing chemical treatment with annual audits of the lake, and we still have the channel for boats on the southeast end of the lake. That's the channel that comes in from the main axis on 55. So those are kind of the big initiatives that we're doing. So boat inspection program, we inspect 3 accesses. There's actually more on the lake. We don't do an inspection down by the Rumble Bridge. Then we go just down the road there. It's not used that often. There's only 4 parking spots. This has all come out of kind of a risk analysis that we did when we first started this back in about 2014, of which I saw an old member of that committee, Alan Solomon, is here. Thank you, Alan. Remember you long ago. We met over at Bugbees and kind of did a risk analysis on where we were going to do our work. The number of inspections that were done this last year was 5,744. Highway 55 is the busiest. We contract through the watershed, and again, that's another piece of the partnership that we share with them. Is they have signed the delegation agreement with DNR so that we can do our own inspections, a little bit of controlling our own destiny. And then they contract with an organization called the Water Guards out of Cold Spring. And that is the same organization that does the inspections for the county as well. The county has their own delegation agreement, and we have our own associated with the Water Guards. So it just feels it gives us a little bit more kind of control. We're able to work a little bit closer with Water Guards organization. If you do it through the county, it's kind of all of my communication would be to them. In this case, I work and try to help out with what the watershed is doing, so I can be a little bit more involved with when an inspector doesn't show up. Who do I call? What, so I don't have to. It's not this circle chain to come back to get the inspector there. The number of hours is 2,216, and if you spend time trying to calculate all of that out, excuse me. We only
we don't have inspectors there 24/7. I wish we could afford it. It's just, we just don't have the funds to do that. Now, maybe if the board approves putting some of the funds that we have for the charitable fundraising, maybe that's an avenue that we could do that. But again, we base it all on risk and what are the busiest times that are there. Now, what I've seen this year is on one of the days, typically, here's the secret. Monday, we typically don't have an inspector there. I have seen more boats there this year on Mondays and Tuesdays during the day than I have in past years. We maybe have to do a reevaluation of when is a good time to be there. And we're not trying to stop anybody from coming in or going out of the lake. We're just trying to do an inspection. And it's always inspections are only as good as they get done. We at least have, DNR seems to have backed off a little bit. They used to have kind of a mantra that you need, as an inspector, you need to do that inspection in 8 minutes or less. And the problem is that if they take longer to do an inspection, the person who's driving the boat's probably going to yell at them. You know, what's taking so long? Why are you doing this? Well, I'm sorry, we're trying to protect the lake. We're trying to protect the next lake if you're coming out. And that's the message that is difficult to get across. And I have 33 years of inspection in the food industry. And so the question I would ask you is, would you like me to hurry through an inspection at the food industry and miss a lot of things and the food that you're going to eat? I don't think so. So, you know, it's just a matter of how do you balance it out and still get the job done and find the right people to do it and do it. Our program total cost is for Koronis is $55,562. KLA direct part was around $9,555. So that's kind of what comes out of the budget for KLA. And hopefully, I know I was great, everybody was visiting at the beginning, but I had a bunch of commercials that I showed. They all had sound. They're really stupid, and they're really kind of funny. They were created, and Stearns County AIS funds partially funded that, and that's why I was able to get that. And KLA directly didn't fund it, but I sit as the chair for the Stearns County Committee, and so funds out of that committee helped to pay for that. So we have them. You just got to be on the right station to get them, because they're not always broadcast, but they're 20-second spots is all they are, and they're just goofy. So
you gonna put them on Facebook occasionally?
I think they are on. They might be on Facebook already. We can put them on the KLA website, though. You know, I made a PowerPoint presentation that just kind of loops them. So I don't know. We'll have to find out if I can call. It's Lane Broadcasting that puts it together. So okay, boat inspection. You know, what can we do to make it better and more efficient? You know, and that I kind of touched on a little bit. Try to get the right people hired. Some of the best inspectors that we've ever had here on Koronis are people that are on Koronis. And we've had several people that have done that over the years, and they were really good inspectors because they have vested interest in what the result of the inspection is. So it's just hard to do it. I don't have time to do it. I wouldn't mind doing it, but I'd be a pain. They'd complain about me because the longest I ever did on an inspection when I was with the state of California was a month. It took us a month to do the inspection. So, but we really nailed that company. They were really bad, and they really deserved it. So anyhow, we're always trying to think. I'm always open to suggestions on what we can do to make it better. Okay, zebra mussels. So in 2023, this map was also in your newsletter. You know, since the 2022 discovery, which 1 year or more to spread, Okay, now, chances are that the zebra mussels didn't come in the lake in 2022. Chances are they came sometime before that. 2022 was the first time we recognized that they were there. But in 2023, when we did one of the lake surveys, we tracked where the zebra mussels were found around the lake. And we did that by checking the plants. The plants that we pulled up on that lake survey had the zebra mussels attached to them. So that doesn't mean that zebra mussels weren't here. It just meant that they weren't attached to the plants. But that was a good, quick way for us to just see how far they had spread. You want to remember, the first zebra mussels were found over here by Second Island. We think right along here somewhere. We believe that that's the case. We never had contact directly with the, it was a commercial, it's not a commercial fisherman, but he would take tourists out and fish with them. He was the one that found it. And then DNR found it over here at the regional park, out over here, the access here. They found a very small juvenile over there, and that was it. That was enough to list the lake as infested. So that's all we knew in 2022. I didn't have them on my dock. I didn't have them on my wheels on my boat. I had no idea that they were there. I immediately went out and checked, and an easy place to do it. And to see a lot of launches at the same time, I went over to the Bugby High because they had all these launches out there, and it was an easy place for me to stand and just observe. Didn't find a single zebra mussel. So that's how quickly they have spread. I mean, it's not good. And this is what I found under my dock when I was down looking. Notice this is a native clam, and the native clam is in the process of getting killed by the zebra mussels. And so I'm promoting a Save a Clam a Day event. You find a clam, save it. We saved this one. My son Trevor in the back beat all of the zebra mussels off and crushed them, and I think he enjoyed it. You know, but that's what we're seeing. And I'm starting to hear reports around the lake of people getting hurt by zebra mussels. I had a new pair of water shoes I was wearing because we had a cable break. We had to fix it, and the bottom is all shredded up. So here's the warning: keep your motor up. Don't let your motor sit down in the water because the zebra mussels will get in it. Keep your boat up because the zebra mussels will attach to the bottom. Wear water shoes. Watch them to be sure they don't get ripped up. Handle equipment carefully. I was talking yesterday, I picked up signs with my wife around the lake. It was a long day yesterday. It was 20,000 steps. So it's just a minor Disney World day. So it was all right. But I started to hear from people. People I visit on the lake. My daughter got hurt. Her hand got cut because she was handling a rock or something, and there were zebra mussels on it. I climbed up a ladder and got zebra mussels on it. So watch your kids, watch your grandkids, yourself, and stuff. So please be careful. And there's no treatments that we really can do to help us on that. There's just nothing we can do. Sorry, Stonewart management. We chemically treated 136 acres. That happened this last week. We had 3 great days: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Calm weather. Historically we found calm weather gives us the best treatment. So keep your fingers crossed that it went well. No mechanical pulling for the second year. We do have Brian Mathewitz. Thank you, Brian, for your years of helping us with the mechanical harvester and keeping that sucker running. They put in a tremendous amount of money just trying to keep that thing running. Thank you, Brian, once again.
Do they all know that that's why we stopped?
Yes, I told them all last year. I said it just couldn't be fixed anymore.
The technology is just not there for full-time harvesting. Most of the harvesters built are meant for just dabbling here and dabbling there. By trying to run it all summer, 300-400 hours, in 3 years it was just self-destructive. It was just done. I mean, we were going to make our own because we could make it better than that thing, but it just self-destructed, and aluminum prices gone up, so it went from $70,000 to purchase one to like 210 or something.
Yeah.
So it just your money, your dollar doesn't stretch far enough doing that.
Yeah. So thank you again. So well, 3 surveys last year and 3 surveys are planned this year. We typically will always do a survey before and after the treatment. What we do is our after treatment for this first treatment, we kind of combine it to save some money. We do that at the same time we do a full lake survey, and a full lake survey is any place that plants can grow. The spacing is like 130 meters, and so then we'll pull a sample, we pull a sample, we pull a sample, and so that seems to be working. We have data going all the way back to the first one that we did when the whole effort started, so we can kind of look to see what's happening. Surveys show that starry stonewort is managed in the heavily infested areas in relation to the reference area. So everything we look at shows that it's making a difference. I actually had a comment from our the DNR AIS specialist. Her name is Chris Jurek over in Sauk Rapids. She said, we can see that it's making a difference. We can see that it's looking at it, that your chemical treatments are doing it. The unfortunate thing is it's that old game called whack-a-mole. You find the heavy areas and you try to knock them down, and then you go to the next heavy area and you try to knock them down, and we're just going to have to keep doing that. But the good news is there's hope, and the hope is that if you look at the area that we originally did the pilot project in, which is right off of where Stone Gate used to be, that was we had 6.6 acres in there. We haven't treated that for about 3 years. And that's good news. And that was the heaviest area. That was our pilot in the beginning. So if we can get ourselves into a pattern where we're not having to treat areas year after year after year, that's a good sign. You still play whack-a-mole, but that's a good sign that you're getting some longevity with what you're doing. But we also at the same time have an area over near the outlet on the west side of the outlet. It's just a bear to get that treated. And so we've had to treat that several years in a row, and it's just tough. There's another area that we think that's actually right down here that it kind of goes out and it drops off. We think that there's some down current, so we can't get the chemical to stay there long enough. But with 3 days of nice weather, there's hope. The cost is about $107,987. That was our cost last year, just to give you an idea of kind of what it's costing. And it's funded through the watershed and grants. This year, I was able to get a $10,000 grant from DNR, and hopefully the grants that we get, our commitment to you was that we will continue to try and get grants. I get $5,000 from Stearns County AIS funds. We got $10,000 from DNR. So we're still out there beating the bush trying to get grants. I get money. I do get money for the inspection program from the township. I get nothing from the city.
We get some from Meeker County as well.
And we do get, yes, thank you. We do get money for inspections from Meeker County. So we're a border lake. I hit everybody I can to get it funded. So I'm able to tap both Meeker County and Stearns County. So I do. Okay, and this is just a reminder, this is kind of the mantra that's out there. Clean, drain, dispose of unwanted waste. It's interesting to go stand at the launches and watch people that come in. Talk to them, be friendly. I'm amazed. I've talked with some people and they say, well, now, they don't even know where the bars are. People that transient boated, I said, well, do you know where the bars are on the lake? Oh, you have bars? And I said, yeah, between the islands and stuff. They've never bothered to look it up. They're hoping that they can figure it out from the buoys and stuff that are out there. And it's surprising. And I'll ask them, do you know about the AIS that are on this lake? Don't have a clue. And there's signs that tell them about it. And they don't have a clue. So, but it's fun to watch. I was at my son's lake on Thursday and watching to see that actually somebody disposed of their bait like they're supposed to. I was amazed. But I also saw 3 other boaters that came into that lake and they never bothered to pull the weeds out. One guy, I even told him, I said, you got weeds hanging down underneath, just in case there's a sheriff out on the other end. Oh yeah, good idea. Yes, I'll do that. So people just don't have the habit of checking their boats and being sure they're clean before they move on. Special thanks for donations from all of you. You are donating all the time, not only by your membership in KLA, but through the petition, the taxes that go through the watershed. So thanks for not tarring and feathering the board for doing that, but it's making a difference. It was the only way that we could try and keep at it and keep doing it. Meeker County AIS funds, Stearns County AIS funds all go directly through the watershed. Paynesville Township, City of Paynesville used to help us and contribute towards the inspection program. Hopefully we'll get back into that and they'll start contributing again. Union Grove is great. I love working with Union Grove. I love going to their meetings because they got milk and cookies. Yeah. Although my wife is recognized there more than I am, so that's all right. She grew up in the neighborhood. Thanks to our contractors who use lake restorations, and we get an amazing price, I think, on what we do with lake restorations because they also make the chemical we use, and that's been proving to work well for us. So we get kind of a benefit. So there's not another party that's involved, and that helps us. I know that we pay about half the price of some of the other lakes that use the same exact stuff, and that's a really big deal. Of course, we're paying for quantity. So, and we use Blue Water Science is our contractor. So, thanks to all of you, and thanks to them. Membership. I'm done. And I will be around at the ice cream social for questions or discussions or whatever you guys need. So, and there can be more at the end.
I want to reiterate 2 additional points. Thank you so much, Kevin, and for all of the people who are contributing to our AIS program. Your support is fundamental to what we do. Of course, it is never easy to be the bearer of bad news for zebra mussels, but trust that Kevin and I are at dozens and dozens of events throughout the year with experts, with researchers, with scientists that are looking into this problem and seeing if there is a possible solution, and that if there ever is one for zebra mussels, that we will be one of the first people to hear about it. Also, if you happen to miss it, I think Kevin included it on the slide but didn't call it out directly. For the inspection program, that's about $9,000, and our chemical treatment is about $107,000. Prevention is 1/10 of what we spend on treatment, and that is common across all other treatments. We can always get more aquatic invasive species. We are doing our best here to make sure that we do not get more. But please encourage your neighbors to be vigilant. Please stay vigilant yourselves. We don't want anyone to get hurt, and we want to be able to enjoy this lake for many years to come. Now some cheerier stuff with membership. We introduced 3 membership levels last year to kind of clarify what each of the roles were. Resident member, active member, and donating members. All shoreowners are automatically enrolled into our resident member program. We know that you are on the lake and that our programs and initiatives directly impact you. We want to make sure that you're getting our newsletter whenever we publish it, whether that's a physical copy or an online copy. Our active membership is just when you sign up for a membership form, and if any of you haven't signed up for a form today, they're still right over here. That gets you the newsletters and voting rights at any of our annual meetings and our meetings throughout the year for charitable fundraising related items. And our donating member is the active membership plus a donation. We are working on creating some additional perks for that level, but it's always a work in progress. We want to thank you for your continued support in all of our endeavors. We couldn't do what we do without you, and we are so grateful for such a fantastic and engaged community. With that, I want to give a couple of KLA activity highlights as a reminder. Our ice cream social is going to be held later today at Vans Beach, starting at 5 p.m. and going till 7 p.m. Hopefully, we won't have to all hide underneath the shelters, but we may be getting very close in a couple of hours. We also do Waterfest for the 5th graders in May. So Kevin and I do that and a couple of other volunteers, and so it's such a treat and a privilege to be able to talk to the younger generation about what their part is in all of this. We also have the Stearns County Shoreland Workshop, the Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Resource Center 10-year celebration at the U of M, where there's a lot of cutting-edge research. I'm also planning to go to a couple of more seminars throughout these next couple of months, so we'll be continuing to post and let you know if there's any updates that come from that. We have a lot of representation on various committees and boards throughout the state, including MinCola. And we also were helping out with the meat raffle at Shady's 55 one-year anniversary. If you're curious about any events that are going on, not just with KLA, but with the local community, we have an events page. This Lake Events is a new addition. It includes all of the information for the event that Ken was talking about earlier. And I'm trying to create something like the Paynesville Chamber of Commerce has for lake-centered events. So if you see anything, shoot us an email at contact@KoronisLakeAssociation.org and we'll get it up there right away. And with that, I would like to invite Randy Schaefer up to talk about the Paynesville Area Community Foundation.
Right grab hair.
Thank you for inviting me to be here today. So appreciate all the work that's being done around the lake as a member myself. Appreciate all of that. First question before I go on is how many of you know who the Paynesville Area Community Foundation is? I recognize many of you, but for those of you who don't, just a quick blurb. We're a nonprofit organization in the community that's very fortunate to work with many organizations, all nonprofits around town. We work with the school, we work with the township, with the city, we work with the county, so we get the fortune to work with many organizations. Thanks to a lot of charitable gifts from businesses, from individuals, families, we raise dollars that then go back to grants to those organizations, as well as supporting community projects, whatever they may be. So a lot of work that we do advocates for the betterment of our entire community. So for those of you that have supported us in the past, thank you very much. Certainly, if you want to know more information, I'll be around as well. But information on our website, Facebook page, and other things. So again, we can't do what we do without those charitable gifts from different organizations and individuals. So first off, I want to say thank you to the Lake Association again for everything you do in the growing partnership. Ezra and I have had a lot of conversations over the last year. I think there's some great synergies between what we're doing and the Lake Association as well. So I look forward to continuing to grow our partnership on a number of fun things. The one that I want to share today, you may have seen the news. We've been advocates for our community, working with Stearns County, and there was a proposal for a new county park. So imagine similar to this park over here, but on the northwest side of the lake. That actually is over 200 acres between the golf course, move back Old Highway 23, all the way down to Lake Avenue near Koronis Ministries, and then over to the northwest, Koronis Road. So there's 200 acres of land there. It's all natural today. It's been preserved. But the proposal was to acquire that land and turn it into a Stearns County Park. Without that, the land may have been sold and developed. And for me, I think about all of the natural things that are happening over there in that property. Water gets drained. We got a lot of nature. So very exciting. If you missed the news, Stearns County approved to move forward with the proposed park. So it's in progress. Nature trails, some tent camping, shelters, and other things, another park in our community area. Right now, it's pending final approval of the DNR grant. Once that comes through, and I'm going to say when it comes through, not if, when it comes through, the county will be in position, in addition to through the foundation, we have actually raised over $150,000 to match a grant to allow the acquisition of land to move forward. So when it happens, very exciting. The county will move forward with developing the park over there. So again, it's going to be mostly nature trails, natural areas, small tent camping and other things. So very exciting. And thanks to Koronis Ministries and partnerships in this, there will actually be an access point off of the bike trail down off the lake road just to the east of the camp, right? I've got the right access point dam. That'll go back into the area of the park. There'll also be entrances off of Northwest Koronis Road and entrance up off the north. So I wanted to share that with you. If you missed the news, it was in the official press release on it. Some more press releases coming. And again, say when we get the DNR grant, if this will move forward. We did host a community information session back in March, but we will have another session or multiple sessions for people to come out and hear more about the park and the plans that the county has to develop that. So some very exciting things that fit real nicely in what's happening here with the Lake Association, preserving nature and land around the lake there. So wanted to share that with you. That's something that we've been very actively involved with for the last 9 months, working in partnership with many organizations. So as part of that, thank you to the Lake Association. We did gather up some endorsements, more support for the park. As we were working with the county, the first question was, Paynesville really wants this park, right? And if we don't have some voice of the community that says this is a good thing, we probably will pass by and not proceed with this opportunity. So the Lake Association, George Food Comes Ministries, we have over 25 organizations, Trail Guards, and others that really came alongside us as part of this process, and we were able to go back to Stearns County Commissioners and show that Paynesville would be very supportive of this new park. So stay tuned, more to come, but very exciting endeavor that we've been part of that I wanted to share with you today, fitting in with what's happening. A couple of quick highlights of other things we got going. August 10th, 5:30, we're going to have a summer social event, so similar to the social you have today. It'll be held over at Tall Trees Estate, so right next to the Buggy Resort, if you don't know where the estate is. Beautiful mansion up on the hill, big area. Come on out for the event. We'll have food, beverages, we've got a band. So a great way to come together and meet your neighbors and hang out and have a good time for a few hours. So 5:30 to 8 o'clock on August 10th. Come on out. I do have more information. We do ask them to sign up on our website for the event, but we want to make sure we have enough food to feed them. So I've got information on that if you're interested in joining us. I'll get you that. And then our second thing I want to put in a little blurb for is we have our annual KLA event coming up on September 28th. It's our annual fundraiser, again raising dollars that we can use to bring it back to the nonprofits. September 28th, starting at 5 o'clock at Shady's 55. So we've got a social hour, silent auction, we've got the dinner, and then we got a community focused program. So we'll be honoring 3 local residents, organizations for their community engagement over the years, as well as honoring our 5 grant recipients, which I'm not going to reveal them today. We've got a press release coming out in a couple of weeks of 5 organizations that are receiving grants. So they'll be honored as part of that event as well. So just wanted to share that, a few things going on. If you're interested in more information, I'll be around. Check us out on our website, our Facebook page. A lot of good things going on to support many different organizations and projects around our communities. So thank you for having me, and look forward to continuing to build our partnership.
To wrap up all of our committee reports, I want to bring your you don't have one, we do have a couple of copies over there for you to grab on your way out. We also have scattered across the tables one of the things that is in the newsletter. It's an activity list that we put together for a couple of committees that were wondering, what does a lake association even do? If you're in that same spot, there are lists all over. I think there are 25, and they look like there are more than 25 people here. So if you and your neighbor both want a copy, you can arm wrestle for it, but you have to do that after the meeting. Okay, now we're going to get into a little bit of director updates. We have 2 directors that are leaving us this year that are retiring from the board after years and years of hard work. This is not an easy position, and we are completely funded through volunteer efforts, and we couldn't be more grateful for the board that has made it what it is today. Ken and Riley, we want to thank you for your service, and we wish you luck in all of your future endeavors. Please join me in congratulating them. Now this is the awkward part, because nominations will be taken from the floor at this time for our board directors for this coming year. As a reminder, we have 2 people that are interested in being part of the board, but we do want to take nominations from the floor first, and then a motion to elect those 2 will be requested. As a part of that, I get to stare at you for a minute and a half while you guys think it over. So I'm going to ask 3 separate times. At any point, you can raise your hand, you can nominate someone, but again, it is a grueling minute and a half for all of us. You're going to realize how long that is in a second. All right, are there any nominations from the floor at this time?
Esther, do we need to nominate those 2, or are they already nominated?
I think we'll need to nominate them.
We're going to do that after.
Okay.
Are there any nominations from the floor at this time? Are there any nominations from the floor at this time? All right. Can I get a motion to nominate Shanna Clocker and Joe Burback to the KLA board? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All for electing Shanna Clocker and Joe Burback.
Aye.
All opposed? Would anyone like to abstain? Perfect. Welcome Shanna Clocker and Joe Burback. I want to thank you all for joining us, especially as we ran a bit over time today. Thank you all for your continued support throughout the year and for showing up here today. We are so grateful for every single one of you, for your donations, for your questions, for challenging us, for being right there alongside us. Now, if there are any questions, please feel free to find the board director. We'd be happy to figure that all out for you. Thank you. I don't know.
Is there anything left in there?
about, we're down this way.
It does. We submit bills. I submit bills. We pay and then I submit. We get reimbursed back. The water thing. It is paid. It's doing well, we have to pay that.